We're going down.
Today's film is a thriller adventure from 2014 titled Black Sea. The film opens with a depressed man named Robinson, who gets severed from a sea salvage company called Agora after devoting 11 years of his life to them. He's told by the HR head, Liam, that his job is rendered redundant by the company in modern times, due to which they're cutting him loose along with many other employees. His work performance is praised, and he's given a check for over £8,000 to compensate for the loss. It is told through an interview in the narration that Robinson served 15 years in the army before Agora and was kicked out after a disagreement. Currently, he drives by his son's school and watches him leave with his mother. It hints that Robinson has separated from his family. Robinson goes to meet his colleagues, Blackie and Kurtzen, who are also fired from Agora. Robinson shares his frustration about seeing his son and wife living a posh life, whereas he's rotting because of his job, from which he's fired now. Kirsten and Blackie decide not to rot anymore and look for a way to make a big fortune. He reveals that he went to the Black Sea last year when he was working at Agora. He found something there that is worth a fortune. He further sends Robinson and Blackie to a banker's house to ask for investments for their mission in the Black Sea. The investor's executive, Daniel, receives them and brings them to Louis, the investor. There, the story of Hitler's gold is unfolded. In 1941, Hitler used the tool of fear to demand a loan of 80 million in the markings of gold from Russia, as Hitler had bankrupted Germany. Soviet Union leader Stalin didn't want a war, so he stuffed 2 tons of gold in a submarine and sent it to Germany. Rumor has it that it never made it out of the Black Sea. The gold presumably weighed down the submarine and drowned it. Hitler continued to wage war and ruin things. Later in the 1980s, a Russian researcher located some ridges across the Georgian coast, along with a type U-boat from World War II, which had a cargo full of gold. Robinson is quick to tell Daniel that Agora found that boat a year ago, but failed to salvage it as the Russo-Georgian War was on the brink. They now plan a heist to steal that gold, for which they need resources. Louis takes interest and offers them his money in exchange for 40% of the gold they recover. Robinson starts brainstorming ways of getting under the Black Sea. At a cafe, he discusses things with Blackie. They plan on including 10 more men with them and buying a submarine of their own with Louis's credit. The men they choose are mostly former veterans they served with, and some are their Russian acquaintances. Daniel arrives there soon and tells them he's coming along with them as per Louis's order. As Robinson starts moving things forward, he constantly contacts Kirsten but doesn't get a response. When he returns home, he finds a kid named Tobin outside his doorstep who claims to be from Kirsten's neighborhood. He delivers to Robinson the devastating news of Kirsten's suicide. Robinson also finds out from Tobin that Kirsten took his life so his insurance money can pay off his mortgage and stabilize his family. This leaves Robinson devastated. After a little thinking, Robinson includes Tobin in his mission to fill in Kirsten's position. The team unites before their rusty old submarine arrives. They get inside the submarine and begin fixing it, as it needs that a lot. One of the crew members alerts Robinson of the charred radio, which isn't getting fixed. Robinson makes him aware that they won't be using radio communication, as the Russian fleet will be patrolling above the Black Sea. Blackie privately talks to Robinson about the Russians believing Tobin to be bad luck because he's too young and a virgin. Robinson doesn't believe in superstitions, so he shakes Blackie off his shoulders. Amidst the fixing, Robinson innocently tells everyone about gold and his idea to equally distribute it among the crew members after giving away Louis's interest. The crew immediately divides into 2 groups as the Russians and Britons refuse to comply. Robinson's British veterans refuse to equally distribute the gold and prefer taking more shares than Russians. Once alone, Daniel scolds Robinson for bringing the secret information out in the open and endangering their lives, as there can be greedy members on board who would kill others to increase their shares. Robinson trusts his men more, so he ignores his warning. Now, they get back to their posts and start the submarine. Robinson looks at the sky one last time and seals the door shut before the submarine goes underwater. As they head toward the Black Sea, Tobin has issues working mechanics with another crew member because he speaks Russian only. Blackie scolds Tobin for not doing his job right and takes him as a bad omen. Later, Robinson checks his phone and discovers that he's about to become a father. Subsequently, they reach the part of the Black Sea that is guarded by the Russian Navy. A Russian sea vessel passes over them, so they immediately shut down their engines to prevent any suspicions of them. When they're out of danger, they attempt to restart the engines as well as use diesel to charge their batteries because they are floating a few hundred feet above the U-boat. The crew members find a leak in the engine and require 4 to 5 hours to fix it. Unfortunately, a giant communication barrier mounts a heated argument among the crew members as half of them speak pure Russian and don't understand English. The argument shapes into a fight, during which a short-tempered crew member named Fraser stabs Blackie in the chest with his knife. Blackie dies, so his oil container gets dropped over the engine and causes a huge explosion that renders Robinson unconscious. He dreams about his family and wakes up to a burnt crew member in front of him. The submarine also stops working and begins plummeting towards the bottom of the ocean. A member tends to Robinson's head wound and tells him he was out for 18 hours. The crew members split into 2 groups and mark their territories. The Russians take over the part where they had stored food for everyone. Robinson goes to negotiate with them and seek their help to fix the sonars and execute their plan to bring the U-boat back to the surface. Contrary to him, they demand Fraser from Robinson so they can convict him for killing Blackie, who was a Russian too. He lectures them to move past their differences and work together in this situation, as they have 36 hours only. Everyone agrees with him and temporarily unites for the sake of their mission. They begin fixing the submarine's drive shaft and navigate to the U-boat's exact coordinates. Once the boat gets on their radar, they send Tobin, Fraser, and another member to search the U-boat in their diving suits.
Hey, take breaths. Now you're safe with me. Right, let's rely on. Just on your leg with the difference.
The divers are quick to find gold bars stashed deep inside the boat. They bring the gold out using a crane, during which they lose some gold bars and a diver because his air hose gets cut after bumping into a ridge. Despite all this, they manage to recover most of the gold and bring it back on the sub. There's a shortage of crew members when it comes to fixing the damaged submarine. When Robinson asks Daniels to be of some help, he starts uncovering the ugly truth behind this heist. He reveals to Robinson that Kirsten is still alive and working with Agora, who's behind this entire expedition. Georgia didn't want to trigger another war with Russia, so they hired Agora to extract their gold for a large sum of money. Agora deliberately fired Robinson and others so they could orchestrate this heist without damaging their company. Now knowing all the gold will be seized, Robinson locks Daniels up in one of the compartments. He refuses to let his hard work go in vain, so he decides to rebel against Agora and get away with all the gold. While remaining submerged, they change their routes to Turkey, even after knowing that their submarine is not stable enough to make such routes. Things get worse as the path they chose turns out to have ridges. The 2 ridges are only 100 meters apart, which makes it impossible for the submarine to pass through the ridges because of its enormity. A Russian mechanic makes everyone believe that they glide through the ridges if they are calculative enough. But Fraser opposes him and suggests getting back to the surface. They listen to the mechanic and move forward. As they get closer to the ridges,
Plus 110 meters. 80 gallons.
Daniels signals Fraser to finish off the mechanic so he can take the lead and bring the submarine back to the surface. Now Fraser corners the mechanic by pointing out a fake problem and vigorously strikes his head with a wrench until he dies. Daniels returns to Robinson and reports the mechanic's death. Though he lies about how he died and fabricates a story about him tripping over the engine and hitting his head hard. The Russians are quick to hold Fraser accountable for another Russian fellow's death, but Robinson figures Daniels is behind it. Robinson becomes furious and points his gun at him. While Robinson fully intends to shoot him, the crew members stop him as they're already short in number. Simultaneously, a worker accidentally causes a spark while fixing something, which leads to an explosion. The submarine gets punctured due to this explosion. The water also seeps in through the hole with full pressure and starts filling in the submarine, which causes the submarine to sink. They fail to prevent the water leakage. So Daniels asks others to help him escape, but no one helps him after seeing his true colors. Meanwhile, Robinson gives safety suits to Tobin and another fellow. He tells them to head towards the hatch and remains behind to pull the lever and open the hatch for them to escape. They worry about him, but he has a plan of escaping through the safety tube. They steal a gold bar before leaving, but Robinson catches them and tells them to put it down, as it will only weigh them down and prevent them from swimming to the surface. When they succeed in swimming to the surface, Tobin waits for Robinson, but the Russian fellow breaks it to him that there is no such safety tube for people to escape from a submarine. In actuality, one person always has to make the sacrifice in order to pull the lever. It turns out to be true when we see Robinson smiling after sacrificing himself. He recalls good times spent with his family as he waits for ultimate death. Here, the film ends. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.